Welcome to The Ethical Advocate for Accidents.
Hello and welcome to The Ethical Advocate for Accidents with James K. Sadigh. For more than 35 years, James has represented injured Californians in personal injury and insurance claim cases with one clear goal: to give every client honest guidance and personal attention from the attorney himself, not a case manager. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about how to recognize when your lawyer is genuinely on your side. James, thanks for being here. Great to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So let's start with a little bit about you. Before we get into the topic, can you share a little bit about your background and what led you into personal injury law, as well as what keeps you passionate about this work after more than 3 decades?
Well, my background. First of all, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country at age 17 with not much money in my pocket, and I had to work my way, legally, of course, to pay for college and put myself through law school. So I come to really have a very passionate feeling about this country and the opportunities that is given to people. And since I was a child, I was watching Perry Mason and all other legal shows, and I kind of wanted to be in their shoes. And this country gave me the opportunity to do that. Now, how I got to the personal injury, it's interesting because when I started law school, my passion was to become a prosecutor and fight for the victims of crimes. And I started working for a law firm as a paralegal part-time. And in one of those, I think it was only a second month I was working for them, I was delivering some documents to a client when I got into a very violent car accident, and I was injured. And I believed that the lawyers in the law firm were going to take care of me. Well, it was a hard lesson. I had to find that unless I take care of myself, unless I find the correct doctors, unless I actually get involved, and find out what really are all my damages, including the medical bills, pain and suffering, loss of wages, emotional distress. Nobody cares. Everybody is just looking at the papers and say, go ahead, do this, go ahead, do that. And through that experience, I learned that most of the clients who end up going and getting representation by the lawyers are not being heard completely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times their grievances are not being addressed. Through that experience, I actually learned hands-on how to deal with personal injury cases. And I ended up actually opening a section of personal injury law in that law firm. And later on, when I passed the bar and joined the law firm for the first 2 years of my practice, I exclusively was handling the personal injury and dealing with the clients, and that's how I got into it. What keeps me passionate is the fact that I love people. I love to sit down with the clients, talk to them, find out about their lives, their concerns, their kids, their family, their values. All of those make a difference in the value of their case and what they have suffered. Not two people are ever alike. Mm-hmm. Based on that, for me, every case is a new case, a new learning experience.
Wow, that's fascinating. So you basically, because of personal experience, you got into this side of the law. I've never heard anybody say that before. I think I'm sorry that you went through that, but an interesting way of getting to something that you're passionate about.
That, and also later on, through the 35 years of doing this, seeing so many different things, and also finding out that personal injury law is not only about an accident and injured client. Depending on what they're going in life, they could be involved because of the accident in a criminal matter, in a family law matter, in a business matter, employment. And I had to know a little bit about every single one of those in order to be able to get the best result for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can definitely feel your passion. And I think that many people would assume that hiring any lawyer means someone is automatically fighting for them, is passionate about what they do. In your experience, what separates a truly dedicated advocate from one who's just handling files?
Well, somebody who asks particular questions. The lawyer who actually himself interviews the client from the beginning and once in a while is in touch with the client, finding out how the life is going, how the treatments are, how is it affected every different aspect of their lives. That is very important. A lot of law firms, they dedicate a case manager or a paralegal or a junior attorney that is only interested to find out, did you go to your doctor? Did you get your MRIs? Did you get this thing? Okay, I got all the records. I don't need anything else. I'm going to go ahead and settle your cases. Also, when it comes to the negotiation of the settlement, are they in touch with the client to let them know every step of the way and what they think is going to be the outcome? Or is it that they just tell them that's the way it is? Mm-hmm. It's very important to give the client enough time to explain their concepts.
Mm-hmm. You've practiced on both sides, the plaintiff and the defense, and you've even served as a judge pro tem, which I believe is sort of like a fill-in judge, right? It's sort of like you help out when things,
that's correct,
backlog and stuff like that. How does that broad perspective shape the way that you evaluate cases as well as communicate with your clients?
Well, it's very important because when you do only one side of the law, you sometimes do not know what the other side is thinking and how they're going about it. For a few years, I actually did the defense work for 2 insurance companies in their special investigation units and fraud. And I had access to the insurance company's information, to the adjusters, to the investigators, to find out how they look at every single evidence that comes in front of them, how they analyze and how they evaluate, and what it is that they're looking for in order to either deny the claim or not pay what the plaintiff is entitled to, and what do they use in order to evaluate the cases. Based on that, it has given me a perspective of how to present a case to the insurance company, what kind of information to put in front of them, and what kind of a dialogue to have with them. Also, I came to realize that the insurance companies have a very good information packet regarding every law firm and every doctor that has been involved in the business of personal injury. It is very important for them, and they see a lawyer himself from the beginning of the case is involved talking to the adjuster and the insurance representative. Is this a case that a lawyer knows A to Z from? Or is it a case that a paralegal and our case manager is just sitting there and talking to the adjuster? And that makes a difference. Also, sitting as a judge pro tem, I have seen how people come to court and present their cases, how they talk. How did it affect me when I was listening to them, when I see their body language, when I see the passion they have about any kind of an issue that they put in front of me, and the effect that it had. But more importantly, when I sat as a mediator and arbitrator for years and tried to settle the cases amongst the parties, and I saw the differences in practices on part of the plaintiff's attorneys, how they advocate the cases to me in order for me to go to the defense side and get money for it. And I realized what things are more effective and what things are less effective, and the body language of the clients when they talk about it. So all of those comes to me in order to talk to my clients and prepare them for all of these sessions and evaluating their cases.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things about is your lawyer involved, or is it just a case manager handling everything? What are some other red flags or warning signs that the lawyer might not be as hands-on or client-focused as they might have claimed at the beginning?
Well, one of the first things is that when the case came to the office, who interviewed the client? Did the lawyer himself or one of the lawyers in the firm sat down and interviewed the client? Did they take the information, or was it the paralegal? Did the lawyer just come in for 5 minutes and shake hands and walked away? Or did he actually sat there and asked questions, try to find out? And during the process of the treatment and the case, did the lawyer once in a while pick up the phone or send an email, inquire about a specific situation, or was it always the case? That shows the involvement of the lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that is very important is your lawyer on the TV or other
Giant
advertising
billboards.
or things all the time. Is he spending any time in the office with the files, or is he just up there marketing? That's another thing to pay attention.
Yeah, I think a lot of clients worry about being passed from person to person in some of these big firms. What should they expect from a lawyer who's genuinely committed to more of that personal attention?
Well, again, are you dealing with one particular lawyer on the case? And is it that every time that somebody contacts you from the office is a different person? Are you being asked the same question that they asked you 2 days ago? Did anybody take notes? Do they remember what you tell them? Are they following up? For example, a client calls and says, I've had a situation with my doctor. This is what the doctor telling me, and I don't know what to do about it. And the person on the phone says, okay, fine, I'll follow up. And then the client doesn't hear anything for 3 days. Calls back and says, what happened to my question? Oh, we haven't got around to do it, or let me get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, after the first inquiry, within a couple of days or so, the lawyer or the lawyer's assistant calls and says, by the way, we contacted Dr. X. This was the explanation. Or we contacted the insurance or investigator. This was the explanation. This is how it's going wrong. So they follow up. Following up is the most important.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that getting pretty frustrated on the client end for sure. No doubt about that. And cases aren't always as simple as a client might think or as they might seem. I mean, how do you explain the limits or the risks in their claim so that they have a clear and realistic expectation of their case?
Well, first and foremost, I will never advertise that I recovered $14 million for such and such client. A lot of those advertisings, even though it's true, because they're not supposed to tell a lie,
sure,
they may have gone to court and got a verdict for $14 million, but did they collect it? A lot of times, clients have to realize that there is always a limit to the insurance policy that is available for collection. So you can go to court and get a $14 million judgment and verdict, but the insurance policy may have only $100,000 limit. So what good would it do to go through all of that expense and get the verdict if you can collect only $100,000 on that case?
Mm-hmm.
Not many people have enough assets beyond their insurance policy to pay the cost of collection, even if they have assets, whether to foreclose on their homes or collect from their wages. It's tremendous. It's not as easy. So it is very, very important to sit down from the beginning and let the client know that these type of cases, foremost, is about them to get the proper treatment for their injuries and pain and suffering. And explain to them that at the beginning, we don't know what the insurance limits are that are paid. And the fact that the person who hit them may be driving a Bentley doesn't mean that they have collectible assets, because a lot of people put their assets in trusts and it's protected. So even if they get judgment against them personally, you may not be able to access the money. So we have to, for the most part, depends on the available insurance proceeds. And then there's always cost to litigation. and the pain and suffering of sitting in a trial and depositions by itself, which is separate from pain and suffering of the injuries. Because when you sit in a trial and under questioning in a deposition, that creates emotional trauma for them. So all of these has to be explained to the client in order to manage their expectations. And the other thing is that when the client comes first to the office and they ask, how much is my case worth? My answer is always, I don't know. Because I don't have all the available information until you finish your treatment, until you go through all of those steps with regard to what you have suffered, the damages. I won't be able to evaluate. Whatever I tell you is not true.
It's just a pure guess, shot in the dark kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hear a lot of times people say, oh, my case, I've already talked to some people. They say my case is $1 million case. Well, how? You're walking, you're talking to me. How did they come up with that? It's only 3 weeks after the accident. You still need to go through the treatments, or the doctor says that you may need a surgery. Do we know if it's going to be a successful surgery or not? That changes the value.
Have you had any? Do you have any stories of a time when maybe someone had gone to one of those bigger law firms, felt like the case was mishandled or they weren't getting any sort of attention, and then they came to you and you were able to sort of steer them in a better direction, make them feel better, and get the case moving in the right direction?
Yes, actually, one comes to mind a couple of years ago, very fresh in my mind. I had a client who I had done a good job for him. His daughter was involved in an accident, and because of the friend or persuasion of other people, had gone to one of these bigger law firms, despite the fact that the father constantly told her, go to James. So after about a year, the father calls me and tells that his daughter is not very happy with what's going on and wants a consultation. When she came in, come to find out that she had over $40,000 medical bills, but the offer from the insurance company was only $21,000. And they were pushing her to take it and saying, don't worry, we're going to cut your medical bills. Well, I looked at the medical records and bills that she had, and out of the $40,000, $35,000 of it was only experts, MRIs, tests, not much of a treatment. No wonder the offer was so bad. And she was still complaining of severe pain in her neck, in her low back, numbness in her fingers, which nobody had done anything about.
And this was a year later?
Yes.
Wow.
So I accepted the case under the condition that she has to get the treatment. And we found a few doctors. She finally chose amongst the doctors that I found for her to go. And they did the proper treatment for about 6 to 8 months, I believe. And by now, she had about $80,000 in medical bills. But she actually was feeling much better. The pain had subsided, and she could go back to work. Well, guess what? Without even filing a lawsuit, we were able to get over $300,000 for her as a settlement. Now, the case worth more, but there were other conditions that she didn't want to be involved in the litigation. And of course, she herself, being a lawyer, not a personal injury lawyer, helped to understand that, yes, it could go to court and maybe get over $400,000, but it would take another year and a half, 2 years cost. And therefore, this was a better economic result for her. So from $21,000 to $300,000, I think that was a big difference.
I think so too. That was a good choice by her for sure. Well, that's a great story, and James, it's been really great getting to know you and your way of doing business. That's it for today's episode of the Ethical Advocate for Accidents with James K. Sadigh. If you've been injured and want clear, honest guidance from an attorney who handles your case personally, visit jamesksadigh.com. And if you found this conversation helpful, please like and subscribe. Leave us a review. We very much appreciate it. James, again, great getting to know you. Looking forward to continuing conversations on other topics.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.